Hi, this is Shawnee Lavender, and today I want to talk to you parents about beliefs that you may have, that you may or may not be aware of, that really make it easy for you to unknowingly shame your children. So these are really common, and I want to tell you before I get into sharing these specific beliefs, I want you to know that none of this is meant to judge you or make you wrong. These are common beliefs, and the reason that they're common is that most of us were raised by parents, no matter how loving they were, that shamed us. In part because that was more common paradigm at the time, was that was a tool you could use to get your children to behave the way you wanted them to behave. The other reason that our parents did it to us is because it's what was done to them when they were children. And as you know, the things that you learn early on and seem normal for you early on are the things you often turn into habitual ways of thinking, ways of believing, behaving. So it's not blaming anybody. It's simply saying that because we have shame in our background and it was more common, that we still have it in us. And even though we don't want to shame our children, there are times most likely that we are actually getting ready to or actually doing so without knowing it. So let me share with you what some of these beliefs are. You may either say these out loud or say them in your head or say them to your partner. See if these sound familiar. Here's the first one. You know better, or she should know better, or he should know better by now. So this is a belief that really is saying, well, you, child, should already understand this, be able to do it, be beyond it. It's not taking into account our real humanity, where we don't always perform at our best and we don't always do what we know to do. Sometimes that's just not where we're at. Another similar belief is you're too old to do whatever the behavior is. So again, there's this implication of you should be past this. This should not be what you at your age or at your stage or with what you know, this is not what you should be doing. So here's a second thing you might hear, and this is the way I often hear it. Nice girls don't fill in the blank. And this is often used with very young girls all the way up to teenagers and trying to shift a person's behavior. With boys, I often hear it this way. Good boys don't fill in the blank. So the implication here is that the behavior that you as a parent just witnessed is something that only bad or mean or not somehow good children do. And so when a child hears that or senses that coming from you, then part of what they potentially internalize is, oh, I'm not a nice girl. Oh, I'm not a good boy. So let me pause. I'm going to share a couple other beliefs in just a minute, but I want to be really clear as well, is that you're not always going to be expressing these directly in these exact words. Sometimes you will, perhaps. But here's the challenge. If this is what's going on in your head in terms of good girls don't thus and such, or you should know better by now, that belief or those beliefs are going to infuse what does come out of you in your words, your body language, your actions. So even if you aren't explicitly saying, you should know better by now, or good boys don't do that, you still, if that's the belief that's running in your head, that shame really gets communicated in other ways, even if you're not saying those words. And so that's what I'm wanting to put this out there for, is to help raise your awareness, not to judge you, because I do it too. I've heard similar things come out of my mouth. It's simply to raise your awareness to say, oh, wait a minute, when I have this kind of belief in my mind, it's going to be easy for me to unconsciously communicate to my child shame. And I don't want to do that. I want to shift the behavior perhaps, but I definitely don't want to add shame in there. So in order to change that automatic behavior, you first get to notice, oh, that's what I'm doing. So that's why I'm sharing these beliefs. So another belief, or these two are pretty related, they shouldn't be so selfish, or they've already gotten enough, or they've had enough. So this might be something you're thinking to yourself. Maybe your child has already had one piece of birthday cake at the party, and now they're wanting another, and you're thinking, well, they've had enough. That's too much. They shouldn't want more. This belief can really put the squash on what is natural for all of us to have at some level, which is desire. Oh, there's something I want. There's something I'm excited about. I really would love to have more. I want 100 stuffed animals if I want to. So it's not a saying that you can't help your child have limits and be respectful of things like sharing and making things available for more people rather than hoarding. It's not that you can't teach those things. It's that, again, if you have a belief that they shouldn't want these things, it's going to be really easy to communicate to them, hey, when you feel desire, you're bad. That's not a good thing to desire. It's not a good thing to want. And I would guess, if you're like me, that's not really what you want to be communicating to them at that deep level. The final belief, and this is not really a verbalized belief, but this idea, if you're holding on to or attached to your children's behavior is a direct reflection of your parenting, then it's going to be very easy to inadvertently shame them when they are misbehaving, because part of your ego is attached to them doing right so that you feel good about yourself. And most of us don't like to admit this, but that's part of the pressure that we feel when we're out in public and our child gets really upset, or they're doing something that we feel nervous about or ashamed of. Then that's about us. And so it's going to be really easy to communicate to them wrongness about themselves rather than just focus on the behavior. Hey, let's change this behavior. Throwing things at other people, that's not a way we're going to be in the world. That's different than, that's bad, you shouldn't throw at other kids. That's really different energy coming at your child. And there's a different meta message, something underneath that's getting communicated that I know as a conscious parent you don't want to communicate. So the bottom line, a recap for this video, is that it's going to really support you in your parenting and your conscious parenting efforts to be reflective and notice if you have some beliefs that are making it easy for you unknowingly to put out messages that shame your child, that tell your child in some way, shape, or form that he or she is not good enough, that there's something fundamentally wrong with them, and that there's just something off about who they are because of how they're behaving. So I know that's not what you're going for. I know you're going for communicating full acceptance and worthiness no matter what, even when you work with your child to change their behavior. And so I hope these tips are helpful. And as always, if you have comments or questions, I'm more than happy to respond to you. So please post those and let me know what you thought. And if I can support you any further in your journey as a conscious parent, please reach out. You can find me online at shawneelavender.com and also in Facebook in the Conscious Mom Circle. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great day.